by Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, substandard performance. Defense Secretary blasts police for turning a blind eye to crime. In peril, sludge seepage detected from the stricken oil tanker. Video evidence. Zahran Hashim had a report compiled on Muslim parliamentarians' performance back in 2015. All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Saturday the 12th of September 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura, then dikukal pavatina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanayaka. Let's start with your local stories. A video featuring Easter attacks ringleader Zahran Hashim, one of his brothers, a former Eastern Provincial Council of the Sri Lankan Muslim Congress and a candidate of the National Front for Good Governance, was aired at the Presidential Commission probing the attacks. It revealed that Zahran had commissioned a report on the performance of Muslim MPs during the period covering 2012 to 2015. Meanwhile, former Chief of National Intelligence also gave evidence before the Commission. Former Chief of the National Intelligence Service, retired Deputy Inspector General of Police Sisira Mendis, testified before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday terror attacks for a fourth day yesterday. During the proceedings, State's Additional Solicitor General asked the witness whether it occurred to proscribe the organisation National Tawhid Jamaat since the intelligence units had reported that the organisation had even drawn blood well ahead of the attacks. In response, the former chief of the National Intelligence Service said, quote, "The thought did not occur prior to the attacks and our primary aim was to arrest Zahran," unquote. The Additional Solicitor General asked again whether it was the Easter Sunday attacks which prompted the proscription of the organisation in question. The witness then replied, yes. The Commission then asked the witness whether he had a chance to meet with the Defence Secretary and discuss the measures to be taken to arrest Zahran Hashim. The response of the former Chief of the National Intelligence Service was that it is something the Inspector General of Police should have done, but it did not happen. He added that Zahran's extremist activities were discussed on various occasions during the Security Council and Intelligence Review meetings. However, the police and the Criminal Investigation Department failed to arrest him. Next up, it was the turn of Mohammed Mustafa Abdur Rahman, who is a defeated candidate from the 2015 general election. He contested the polls from the National Front for Good Governance, set up to establish the government of good governance. A video of a discussion between witness Abdur Rahman, former Eastern Provincial Council of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress Sibli Farooq, and Easter attacks ringleader Zahran Hashim was played to the Commission members. The two persons seated in front of Abdur Rahman and Sibli Farooq are Zahran Hashim and his brother Zain Mohammed. The video had been recorded for around 30 minutes and the witness was only shown the relevant part of the video. The discussions between the characters in the video were in Tamil language. Zahran Hashim had vested responsibility on members of the organisation National Front for Good Governance to study the conduct of Muslim parliamentarians, including MLAM Hizbullah, during the period between 2012 and 2015. The report these NFGG members had compiled is taken up for discussion with political representatives in the talks caught on video. What's more, a sum of 1 million rial MLAM Hizbullah received from Arabia is also discussed by Sibli Farooq and Zahran Hashim. They have extensive talks on whether this money is received for Hizbullah's political activities from Arabia via the Hira Foundation. During the discussion, Zahran says that there is no issue with Hizbullah conducting his political activities with Arabic money.
அவன் சொன்ன நிலையத்தில் 1 மில்லியன் ரியால் வந்து எனக்கு ஓட்டு சப்ளை கொடுக்கறதுக்கு நான் 33 லட்சம் ரூபாய் குறிப்பிட்ட கொடுத்து போட்டு நான் ஓட்டை போயிட்டு சொன்னாங்க கொடுத்து போட்டு அதை சொன்னாங்க அதாவது 10 வீதம் சரி கொடுத்து போட்டு நான் எடுத்து சொன்னார் அவை உங்களுக்கு சும்மா எனக்கு வேலை செய்யணும் அரபிதார 10 ஓட்டு விட தராங்க அப்படின்னு சொன்னேன்
வெளிநாட்டு நிதிகளை பயன்படுத்தி இப்புல்லாவை அங்கே நான் அரசியல் செய்வது அப்படி முடியல இஸ்லாத்தில் நாங்கள் ஒரு அரபி காசு கொடுத்தோ நீங்கள் உங்களை போயிட்டு செய்வீங்க சொன்னால் பிரச்சனை இல்லை அரபி இது கொடுத்தது அதுக்கு எடுத்ததும் பிரச்சனை
ஒரு தெளிவான விஷயம் ஊரில் நடக்கிற அவ்வளோ அரபியில காசு இஸ்முல்லா ஹிராப்பனுக்கு ஹிராப்பன் தலைவலியாக இஸ்முல்லா அரபியில காசில நான் அரபியில காசில அது சுரண்டி செய்கிறாரா தெளிவாக செய்கிறாருங்கிற ஹஜார் சொன்னது அரபியில காசில கொண்டு செய்திருந்தாரு தெளிவான விஷயம் தான் இப்போ சாப்பாடு கொடுத்தாரு அரபியில காசில நான் இஸ்தார் செய்கிறேன் கொண்டு செய்கிறாருன்றா ஆட்டோமேட்டிக்காக அரபியில காசில கொண்டு செய்கிறாரு.
The Additional Solicitor General then asked the witness as to why he met with Sibli Farooq and Zahran Hashim. The reply of the NFGG candidate was that the discussion in question was held at the office of Zahran and it was a political discussion. He added that the discussion was held about a week before the 2015 general election.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Defence Secretary Major General Kamal Gunaratna took aim at police officers who turn a blind eye to crime or stay idle without taking action. He said that the return from police officers in some areas is very poor and called their honour into question. His comments came during a workshop held at the Criminal Records Division yesterday.
අමනාප වෙන්න එපා. ඔබ බොහෝ දෙනෙක් බොහොම හොඳට සත්භාවයෙන් වැඩ කරන මහත්තුරු, නිලධාරි මහත්තුරු. නමුත් තවත් කොටසක් ඉන්නවා කිසිම කමකට නැතුව වැඩ කරන්නේ නැති කට්ටිය. ඒක අපේ ගරු ඇමතිතුමා ඉන්න තැනම මම කියන්න ඕනේ. පසුගිය මාස එකහමාර ඇතුළත විශේෂ කාර්ය බලකාය ගිහිල්ලා ගංජායෙන් අක්කර 38ක් 40ක් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක් ඇල්ලුවා. ඊයේත් ගංජායෙන්ක් ඇල්ලුවා අඩි 6ට වැඩිය උස ගස් තියෙන. සමහර ගංජායෙන් අඩි 10කට වැඩිය උසයි ගස්. පොලිසිය මහත්තුරු මොනවද කරන්නේ? තමන්ගේ ඒරියා එකට STF එක හරි කොළඹින් ටීම් එකක හරි ඇවිල්ලා ඕවා අල්ලනකොට මොකද්ද තමුන්ට තියෙන නම්බුව? රජයේ වගුරුබිම් අක්කර ගණන් ගොඩ කරද්දි දන්නේත් නැත්තම් සවලෙන් ගොඩ කරන්න බෑ වගුරුබිම් ගොඩ කරන්නේ සර් බැකෝ දාලා එක්ස්කවේටර් දාලා ඩම් ට්‍රක් ගෙනල්ලා ඔහොම තමයි වගුරුබිම් ගොඩ කරන්නේ. අර එකපාරක් මුල් ඒරියා හිටපු වයිසි මහත්තයාගේ ගෙන්නලා ඇහුවා මෙච්චර අක්කර ගණන් ගොඩ කරනවා අංගඩොලක් වගේ මිනිස්සු. තමුන් මොනවද කරන්නේ? සමන් දැනගෙන හිටියේ නෑ. නියම උත්තරේ. ඇයි පොලිසිය ඇක්ෂන් එකක් ගන්න නැත්තේ? අඩු ගානේ තමන්ගේ ඒරියා එකේ වවන බොහොම සස්ත්‍රීක ගංජා හේනවත් අල්ල ගන්න බැරි නම් මහත්තුරුනේ අපි ලැජ්ජා වෙන්න ඕනේ. තමුන්නාන්සෙලත් ලැජ්ජා වෙන්න ඕනේ. පොලිස්පතිතුමාත් ලැජ්ජා වෙන්න ආරක්ෂක ලේකම් විදියට මමත් ලැජ්ජා වෙන්න ඕනේ. මගෙත් වගකීමේ කොටසක් ඒක. ඒ නිසා බොහෝ ස්ථානවල රිසල්ට් එක මදි. අපේ ජනතාව අපේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාව බලයට පත් කරේ 3න් 2ක බලයක් සමග රජයක් පත් කරේ මේ දේවල් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ.
මමත් දේශපාලනට ආවේ අවුරුදු 20ක විතර පමණ පොලිසියේ හිටියා. ඒ වගේම සමහර වෙලාවට පහර දීම් පිළිබඳව ඉන්ටෙලිජ් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අත්දැකීමුත් තියෙනවා. අපි මේ වෙලාවේ ගහන්න එපා කියන්නේ නැගාට ගහන ක්‍රමයේ ඉගෙන ගන්න එකයි තමයි සම්මුණාසලට තියෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන් මේ අපි ඔබගෙන් අධීක්ෂණය එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔය කියන ඉන්ස්පෙක්ෂන් ඒව මේවා එදා වගේ ඒ විදියට සිදු වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක බව නම් මම හොඳින් දන්නවා.
Now, keeping with the theme, Commander of the Army Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva reassures that the illicit drug trade prevalent in the country will be eliminated, while stressing that the end of the underworld is also very near. Defence Secretary Major General Kamal Gunaratna too struck a defiant tone when speaking on the demands put forth by the band of criminals at the Busa prison who are engaged in a hunger strike. He rubbished or in fact brushed aside the inmates' calls to do away with checks when entering the prison and said that the demands cannot be met. With that, here's the latest on Sri Lanka's war on drugs and the underworld.
The Organised Crime Prevention Division has arrested 2 persons while travelling in a car with 1 kilogram of heroin in the area of Dampe in Meegoda today. Police have also uncovered the main operator behind the drug racket to be an inmate of the magazine prison. Meanwhile, officers of the police narcotics unit of Puttlam apprehended a suspect with 7.46 grams of heroin and seized 4 vehicles near the Buddhist centre along the Puttlam-Colombo road this morning. According to the police, the suspect is a resident of the Til Adia in Puttlam and had previously been convicted and imprisoned for arms dealing with the LTTE. Meanwhile, an individual named Miriswatte Tiron was arrested by the police in Miriswatte today, along with 100 grams of Kerala cannabis and 116,000 rupees of drug money from in his possession. In the meantime, the Crime Prevention Unit of Panadura arrested 5 persons today, including 2 women, for using and packaging crystal methamphetamine, also known as ice. They had rented a room at a lodge located in Sagaramawatha in Panadura for 2 days for this purpose. Police also found ice, Kerala cannabis, packets of heroin and a narcotic called Mava from their possession. Packaging material used in the operation was also found during the arrest. In Siamalanduva, a father-son duo was arrested over a cannabis racket operated targeting school children in the area. During the raid, police found 380 grams of cannabis in the suspect's possession. The main suspect who supplied them with cannabis was also arrested with more than a kilo of the substance hidden up a banyan tree in the area. In the meantime, the sister of notorious drug kingpin Vele Sudha was arrested by the Hakmana police today along with her paramour. 5 grams of Kerala cannabis were found in possession of their driver, who was remanded until the 14th of this month after being produced before court. According to police, the sister of Vele Sudha and her paramour are being interrogated on detention orders. Meanwhile, the hunger strike launched by a group of criminals detained at the Boosa prison continued for a 3rd day today. Despite around 40 inmates initially rejecting food, 15 have since backtracked. Responding to the matter, the Secretary of Defence says the demands put forth by the detainees cannot be met.
ඔය වර්ජනයට ගිහිල්ලා ඉන්න හිරකාරයෝ කොටස තමයි මේ රටේ ඉන්න ලොකුම අපරාධකාරයෝ ටික. නමුත් අසාධාරණ ඉල්ලීම් අපිට ඉෂ්ට කරන්න බෑ. නීතිඥ මහත්වරුන්ව චෙක් කරන්න නැතුව ඇතුළට ගන්න කියලා ඉල්ලීමක් තියෙනවා. ඒ අයට වැඩක් නෑ ඒක. මම ආරක්ෂක ලේකම්. මාවත් චෙක් කරනවා නම් ඒ අය චෙක් නොකර ඉන්න හේතුවක් නෑ. ඒක ඇවිල්ලා අදි ආරක්ෂිත හිරගෙදර. ඒකට යන ඕනෑම කෙනෙක්ව බන්ධනාගාර කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරාල් වරයා පවා එතනදි චෙක් කළා තමයි ඇතුළට ගන්නෙ. දැන් ඒ උපවාසයට ගිය කට්ටියගෙන් මම හිතන්නේ 20 ගාණක් දැන් කෑම කන්න පටන් අරන් තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අනික් කට්ටියත් තව ටිකක් බඩගින්නේ උඩට කෑම කන්න පටන් ගන්න. ඒකෙච්චර සැලකිය යුත්තක් නෙමේ.
Meanwhile, Commander of the Army Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva also expressed views regarding raids conducted to seize drugs while participating in a special forces dispersal ceremony held in Matale today.
මේ රටෙන් කුඩු අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම තුරන් කිරීමට අපි කටයුතු කරනවාමයි. ඒකම තමයි පාතාලයේ හොව් පාතාල නායකයන් ඉතාමත් අපහසු ඇති ප්‍රබල සමාජිකයන් එක් ස්ථානයකට බුස කඳුරට ස්ථානගත කිරීමටත්. නමුත් ඔවුමුත් අතරින්නේ නැහැ. මේක උන්ගේ ජීවන රටාව බැහැයි කියපු දේවල් ජයග්‍රහණය කරපු හමුදාවක් ඉන්න රටක අපි අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කුඩු ජයග්‍රහණය කරනවායි. පාතාලයත් එච්චරමයි පාතාලයටත් වැඩි ඈතක් නැහැ.
We will see you shortly after this break. Bear with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, a sludge leak was discovered from the stricken oil tanker MT New Diamond. A team of divers from the Navy, however, took measures to seal off the 2 openings from which the sludge was seeping into the ocean. It was revealed that the leak was caused due to the damage caused to the vessel's inner piping system. In the meantime, the Air Force have brought their operations pertaining to the supertanker to an end. They, however, say that they are on standby with equipment at the ready in case a need arises to re-engage.
The oil tanker MT New Diamond, which was located 50 nautical miles off Batticaloa, has now drifted closer and is located 45 nautical miles from Batticaloa. With the Colombo Chief Magistrate granting permission to obtain samples of oil from within the vessel, all relevant parties concerned with the MT New Diamond convened a meeting today in order to discuss the matter.
ඒ අනුව අද දිනේදී අපි සියලුම පාර්ශ්ව සම්බන්ධ කරමින් නෞකාවට ගොස් තෙල් සාපල් ලබා ගැනීමේ කටයුත්තට අදාළ සියලුම සම්බන්ධීකරණ කටයුතු මේ වෙනුවට සිද්ධ කරමින් පවතිනවා. ඒකම අන්තර්ජාතික තෙල් නැව් හිමිකරුවන්ගේ සංවිධානයත් මේ සංවිධානයේ නියෝජිතවරු දෙදෙනෙක් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට පැමිණ තිබෙනවා. නිව් ඩයමන්ඩ් නෞකාවේ සිද්ධිය සමාලෝචනය කිරීමට සමුද්‍රීය පරිසර ආරක්ෂණ අධිකාරිය ඇතුළු ශ්‍රී ලංකා නාවික හමුදාව සහ වෙරළ ආරක්ෂණ බලකාය ආදී වූ මේ සියලු නිලධාරීන් සමග ඔවුන් අද ගුවනේ සිට නිරීක්ෂණය කරමින් තත්ත්වය සමාලෝචනය කිරීම සඳහා වූ අවශ්‍ය දත්ත එකතු කරනු ලැබුවා.
In the meantime, a special team of divers from the Navy conducted a special operation to inspect the submerged body of the vessel yesterday. During the operation, it was observed that the pipe system which connects to the 2 openings for seawater had sustained damages. Under normal circumstances, the opening on the port side sits 19.3 meters below the water level. while the opening on the starboard side sits 16 meters below the water level. It was also observed that there was a leak of heavy fuel oil into the sea through the damaged internal pipe system connected to the seawater intake on the starboard side of the tanker. With that being the case, the team of Navy divers took measures to seal the two openings. Meanwhile, the Marine Environment Protection Authority says that they will receive the report on the samples of water obtained from the surroundings of the vessel on Monday. In other developments, the Sri Lanka Air Force ended their operations with regard to the oil tanker MT New Diamond. However, Air Force spokesperson, Group Captain Dushan Vijay Singha, says that the aircrafts and helicopters necessary for surveillance are on standby at airports to provide assistance if required.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa paid homage to the 8 sacred sites locally known as Atamasthana in Anuradhapura yesterday. The head of state also called on chief incumbent of the Atamasthana, Venerable Pallegama Sirinivasa Thera.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived in Anuradhapura yesterday to pay homage to the 8 sacred sites commonly known as Atamasthana. The head of state then called on chief incumbent of Atamasthana, Venerable Pallegama Sirinivasa Thera. The president also engaged in religious observances before the Jayashree Mahabodhi and looked into the well-being of the people gathered. The head of state had an audience with the chief incumbent of the Ruwanvali Mahasaya, Venerable Pallegama Hemaratna Thera, and then engaged in religious observances. Thereafter, President Gotabaya paid homage to the Jetavanarama Stupa and visited chief incumbent of the sacred site, Venerable Halmillave Ratanapala Thera. Meanwhile, the president arrived at the Lankan Temple and called on chief incumbent Venerable Ralapanave Dhammajoti Thera. The president also inspected the conservation work of the temple and engaged in a conversation with the devotees present at the sacred site. The head of state then visited the Mirisavatiya Temple and the Sri Sambhuddha Jayanti Temple.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says that the launch of the official website of the Kamalnya Temple will provide access to Buddhist knowledge for people across the globe. He made these comments while delivering a speech at this ceremony organised to mark the launch of the website.
The official website of the Kamalnya Temple was launched today under the patronage of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The volume titled Durutu Dhamma Sermon Volume was also presented to the premier at the occasion.
මේ අවුරුදු ජනවාරි මාසයේ ඉඳලා අද වෙනකොට මම තුන් පාරක් කැලණි රජමහා විහාරයට එන්න වාසනාව ලැබුණා මට. අපේ ලෝකේ විහිදී ඉන්න බෞද්ධ ජනතාවත් තාගම් පිළිබඳව විශේෂයෙන්ම අවධානය යොමු කර සිටින අනෙකුත් ආගමිකයන් නොයෙක් ප්‍රශ්න යොමු කරනවා හාමුදුරුවන්ට. ඒ වගේම රජයට. ඉතින් මේවට උත්තර සැපයීමට මෙවැනි වෙබ්සයිට් එකකින් අපිට පුළුවන්කම තියෙනවා. මේ ලංකාවට පවණක් නොවේ ලංකා බෞද්ධයන්ට පවණක් නොවේ ලෝකයේ ජීවත් වන අනෙකුත් බෞද්ධයන්ට විතරක් නෙවෙයි අන්‍ය ආගමිකයන්ටත් බුද්ධ ආගම පිළිබඳව සොයා බලන්න අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රශ්න වලට පිළිතුරු ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් තත්ත්වයක් මේ තුලින් ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් කියලායි මම විශ්වාස කරන්නේ.
Now, Minister of Industries Vimal Weerawansa says that the Prime Minister appointed a 6-member committee to address the shortcomings of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution. The minister went on to say that as a result of this, the 20th Amendment that has been gazetted will not be presented to Parliament until the recommendations of the committee are presented and the new 20th Amendment gazetted.
මේ දැනට දීලා තියෙන කෙටුම්පතේ තිබෙන ඇතැම් ගැටලු මමත් ඒ වගේම තවත් පක්ෂ නායකයන් කීප දෙනෙක්ම ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමාගේ අවධානයට යොමු කළා. ඉන් අනතුරුව තමයි ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමා තීරණය කළේ අපි 6 දෙනෙක්ගෙන් සමන්විත කමිටුවක් පත් කරන්නත් ඒ කමිටුවෙන් ඒ නිර්දේශ ලැබෙන තුරු 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ දැනට ගැසට් කරලා තියෙන ගැසට් පත්‍රය පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඉදිරිපත් නොකර සිටින්නත් ඒ කමිටුව මගින් ඉදිරිපත් කරන නිර්දේශات සලකා බලලා නව ගැසට් පත්‍රයක් 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ හැටියට ඉදිරිපත් කරලා එය පාර්ලිමේන්තුව හමුවට ගෙන එන්න. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ලබන සම්දවනයට පළවෙනි රැස්වීම තියන්න. 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ කෙටුම්පත් කළේ කවුද? කෙටුම්පත් කරපු කෙනා නම් මම දන්නේ නැහැ කවුද කියලා. අපේ ආණ්ඩු පක්ෂයේ മന്ത്രിවරුන්ගෙම යම් යම් කනස්සල්ල පළ වෙලා තිබෙනවා ඇතැම් කාරණා ගැන. එතකොට ඒව ටික නිරවුල් වෙලා නියම විදියට 20 වෙනි සංශෝධන කෙටුම්පත අලුතෙන් සකස් වුණාම එතකොට කිසිම සැකයකින් තොරව 3න් 2ක සහයෝගය ගන්න පුළුවන්. මම ඔබතුමාත් එකඟ වෙනවද මේ සියලටම කරුණු වලට? නෑ මම පක්ෂ නායක රැස්වීමේදී මේකේ අවශ්‍ය සංශෝධන කරන්න කියලා කතා කරේ එකඟ නොවෙන හින්දානේ සමහර තැන් වලට.
Now, reports have emerged of a Sri Lankan woman employed in Kuwait as a maid being tortured to death. According to reports, the 46-year-old Sri Lankan died in Amiri Hospital, having been brought there by her Kuwaiti sponsor with traces of burns, cuts and wounds on her body. They say that the Kuwaiti sponsor and his wife are being investigated to find out if more are involved in the case when the maid was brought to hospital in critical condition. She had been shifted to intensive care, but she was pronounced dead a few hours later. Reports say that her body has been referred to the forensics department for a complete report and to determine the circumstances of what happened. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, Export Development Board welcomes another month of a near $1 billion exports. The island's exports in August recorded a slide of 19.2% compared to the corresponding month of last year. The EDB said that it is being watchful of the months ahead whilst understanding the impact of COVID-19 on Sri Lanka's key markets of US and Europe, while also acknowledging the need to create a significant export market in Asia, including China.
Sri Lanka's exports during the month of August 2020 recorded a downfall of 19.2% to $947.7 million as compared to the value of $1,033.3 million recorded in the same month last year. Despite the decline in exports, some products recorded a positive growth. Coconut-based products grew 22.88%, electricals and electronic components grew 8.32%, spices and essential oils recorded a growth of 19.4%, while food and beverages grew 11.45% during the month of August 2020 as compared to August of 2019. Export earnings from apparel and textiles, however, declined by 11.99% to $438.34 million during August this year, compared with $498.3 million recorded in August last year. In parallel, a decline of 6.15% was recorded in August 2020 in comparison to July 2020. Despite the decline in the sector, earnings from exports of made-up textiles increased by 200-fold in August 2020 in comparison to August 2019. Export earnings from tea in August 2020, which made up 12% of merchandise exports, declined by 13.27% year-on-year to $102.97 million, and the export volume also declined by 16.01% in August 2020 compared to August 2019. The decline was mainly due to lower demand for tea from Iran and Iraq. Total export earnings, meanwhile, for the period from January to August 2020 was $6,400.21 million compared to $7,921.16 million recorded in a similar period of the previous year, outlining a decline of 19.2%. It, however, shows an improved performance compared with the decline of 21.08% recorded in January to July 2020. The top 5 export destinations during the period from January to August 2020 were the United States, accounting for $1,652.17 million, United Kingdom accounting for $552.46 million, India accounting for $396.96 million, Germany accounting for $371.05 million, and Italy accounting for $280.51 million. Collectively, they absorbed over 50% of exports recorded in the period. Being the largest single export destination, United States of America has absorbed $248.63 million worth of exports in August 2020, recording a decline of 11.2% in comparison to $280 million absorbed in August 2019. The services exports estimated by EDB, which includes ICT, BPM, construction, financial services and transport and logistics, show exports of $2,224.2 million for the period of January to August 2020 compared to $2,584.67 million recorded in the corresponding period of the previous year. However, estimated service exports declined by 13.95% during the period of January to August 2020 compared with the corresponding period of the previous year.
Now, Baring Private Equity Asia, a private alternative investment firm, and Virtusa Corporation, a global provider of digital strategy, digital engineering and its services and solutions, have announced that the companies have entered into a definitive merger agreement. Under the merger, funds affiliated with the BPEA will acquire all outstanding shares of common stock of Virtusa for $51.35 per share. It will be an all-cash transaction valued at approximately $2 billion. The transaction, which is expected to close in the first half of 2021, is subjected to approval of Virtusa's shareholders, customary regulatory requirements, including approval from the Committee of Foreign Investment in the United States, and customary closing conditions. The transaction is not subject to a financing condition. Oil prices posted their second straight weekly loss yesterday as stockpiles rise around the world and fuel demand struggles to rebound to pre-coronavirus levels. Now, both Brent and US crude lost about 6% on the week after a series of signals that showed markets still have an abundance of supply. The market has been under pressure all week, starting with Saudi Arabia's surprise move to cut prices of its oil supplies to Asia by $1 starting in October. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.